Part 63. Super Role Player. Author, Yuan-san Buletinji. Chapter 662. A minute later, Angzi rushed to the backup singles in front of Anthony in assisting defense and ended the Knicks' attack with a block. Afterwards, Angzi picked up the basketball and rushed to the front court. A quick break while the opponent's defense was based on maintaining stability, succeeded in a layup and scored 2 points. Then, there was another wave of offense. Angzi scored a three-pointer from the outside line. After scoring 5 points in a row, Angzi's personal score rose to 42 points, only 8 points away from 50 points. With 8 points and a maximum of 4 goals, Angzi can increase his personal scoring to 50 points to break Wilt Chamberlain's consecutive game record. Therefore, after Angzi scored this three-pointer, the commentary was full of boiling. Angzi scored the 42nd point in this game. The second quarter of the game has just begun. Angzi has already scored a 42-point, and 50 points are clearly at hand. At the beginning of the second quarter, I scored 42 points. Angzi even has a chance to become another 80-pointer, even 90-pointer, 100-pointer. Angzi is already 70 points. In this game, he still has a chance to set a higher record. This game is wonderful. Angzi felt hot, and he continued to shoot the next few shots. In the 5th minute of the second quarter, Angzi hit mid-range and scored 2 points for his 44th. Then, the Knicks scored offensively, the point difference remained unchanged. After a defensive round, Angzi once again singled out his opponent at the top of the arc, and missed a strong double-team shot. Insider Cole Aldridge grabbed the rebound and Angzi caught the ball and shot again. This time it was a three-pointer and scored. Up. Personal 47 points, the cheers on the scene are getting louder, because Angzi is getting closer and closer to 50 points. On the court, Rand Holmes was completely unable to prevent Angzi. Kalin Sonnery switched to Angzi, but the thinner Kalin Sonnery was even more unable to resist Angzi's strong attack. Angzi singled back and turned around. Jumper, scream, personal 49th point. The scene cheered wildly, only 1 point away. A point was readily available, and it didn't take long for Angzi to get this point quickly. In the next round, he shot another mid-range under the defense of Kalin Sonnery. After a successful hit, he scored a 50-plus record in 8 consecutive games. It's done. Before halftime was over, Angzi scored 50 points. Everyone on the scene seemed to have seen a ghost, and they all stood up. All the 76ers fans cheered frantically, the cameras swept across the sidelines, the craziness seemed to be contagious, almost everyone was crazy. Before halftime, Angzi scored 51 points. The Knicks' paper-like defense is not worth mentioning in front of Angzi. 8 consecutive 50-plus games have been achieved. Angzi has broken the 7 consecutive 50-plus records held by Wilt Chamberlain. Now, this consecutive record belongs to Angzi. Shaquille O'Neal and Kenny Smith celebrated the appearance of this record loudly, but Angzi on the court seemed very calm, because his current goal is not just 50 points, his goal is even more ambitious. 50 points were scored before halftime. How many points can Angzi score in the whole game? Just think about it, it's scary. 50 points are not over at halftime, so is it that 100 points must be broken at the end of the game? It's scary to think about it. Soon, Angzi continued to work hard for the rest of the second quarter. After scoring consecutive points, Angzi scored another 28 points in the second quarter and scored 57 points in the half. Angzi set another new record. However, Angzi failed to break the NBA's historical halftime scoring record. The original record still belongs to Wilt Chamberlain. He scored 59 points in the half, and Angzi was only 2 points behind him. Therefore, Angzi is only 2 points away from breaking history. During the intermission, Angzi and Brett Brown discussed how to play in the second half. Angzi hopes to get a higher individual score, so he hopes Brett Brown can help him. Brett Brown did not refuse, he thought for a moment, and designed a tactic for Anxi. Standing in the high horns, after continuous screens, created an easy opportunity for Anxi to shoot. Brett Brown stood in the middle of the locker room and repeatedly emphasized this tactic. The main players of the 76ers are also very happy to help Anxi make history. In fact, Wilt Chamberlain scored 100 points back then, and his teammates helped him. In this game, Anxi's 57 points in the half meant that he only had to spare his energy to score points in the second half. It will not be a dream to break the historical record of 100 points. Everyone supported Anxi to create a higher history, so as soon as the second half started, Anxi began to score. With various pick and rolls on the outside, Anxi's scoring has indeed become easier. Therefore, Anxi played for most of the third quarter and was replaced at the end of the third quarter. Cut at 20 points, at the end of the 3 quarters, Anxi scored 77 points, creating a personal single-game scoring record. But obviously, with 1 period left in the game, Anxi still has a chance to score more points. Anxi, who was able to score 29 points in the first quarter and 28 points in the second quarter, has a good chance to be the last. Score another 23 points in a quarter and get a 100 points. Therefore, everyone is looking forward to Anxi continuing to make history. It's 77 points, and it's only 3 points away from 80 points. Mr. 80 points are not far away. Mr. 90 points are also close at hand. Mr. 100 points also has a chance to win. Although the game has lost the suspense of winning, it is still exciting. Because they know that they are witnessing a history. This game is destined to go down in history, because Anxi is likely to get a terrifying single-game score. He is only 4 points away from Kobe Bryant's 81 points and only 2 goals in the fourth quarter. Tied. Whether the 100 points can break is still unclear, but Anxi is clearly about to win the second highest scoring record in NBA history. Now let's see if Anxi can put down her figure in the last quarter. Soon, the fourth quarter began, and Anxi really continued to play. He doesn't want to score too much, 100 points can be tried, but if the score is too difficult and obvious, he may have to give up, but now, it is clear that there is a good chance of breaking the quasi-record of 81 points, after all, only 4 points. If these 4 points are not brushed, Anxi will not be reconciled. At the beginning of the fourth quarter, Anxi immediately showed his determination to the people. A pick and roll outside the 3-point line, Anxi took a step inward, stopped a jump shot and made a slam hit, 2 points to the hand, the 79th point of the game. Then, the unscrupulous Knicks missed a goal. Cole Aldridge grabbed the rebound, Anxi caught the ball and made a quick break, rushed to the front court for a European layup, and with a scream, it was another 2-point. 81 points. Wachovia Arena burst again. Super Role Player. Author, Yuen Sanbuletinji. Chapter 663. In the cheers of thousands of fans in Wachovia Arena, Anxi continued to score points. Now, anyone with a discerning eye can see that Anxi's goal is to break the record. He has already scored 81 points, at least to break Kobe Bryant's 81-point quasi-record. Next, just 1 goal, Anxi you can enjoy the throne of the second single-game scoring record in history. In the next round, Anxi made a breakthrough and scored the 83rd point of the game with a layup against Kalinsani's defense. The record is broken. Now Anxi will enjoy the second throne in history alone. Where is Kobe Bryant at this time? I would love to contact him to see what he thinks. At this time, the NBA employed media reporters in the press booth confirmed the front page headlines for the next day early. Anxi smashed points and shocked the world. Shocking the world. This is obvious. Kobe Bryant scored 81 points and stole all the headlines. The Super Bowl, that day, Iverson scored 39 points, Tracy McGrady scored 43 points, Igor Dara's buzzer tipped the Timberwolves, the Suns' supersonic double overtime 301 points, of which Ray Allen's 42 points and Marion's 37 points. The Grizzlies' substitute Mike Miller scored 30 points that day, but all the headlines were snatched by Kobe Bryant. Now, Anzi has scored more points, and it is obvious that he has received more attention. After scoring the 83rd point of the game, Anzi still did not stop. With 6 minutes and 37 seconds left in the fourth quarter, Anzi singled out Colin Sonnery from the middle distance and scored another goal, 85 points. At 6 minutes and 18 seconds, Anzi took the ball at the top of the arc after Pau Gasol's pick-and-roll screen, an emergency stop jumper shot, 87 points. At 5 minutes and 55 seconds, it was still Anzi who scored a three-pointer from the outside, the 90th point of the game. The scene continued to clamor and cheers, and the commentator yelled excitedly, 90 points. 90 points achieved. Anzi has become Mr. 90 points. Now, with half a quarter of the game left, Anzi even has a chance to break Wilt Chamberlain's 100 points record. After Anzi scored the 90th point in the game, Anzi's goal changed again. 100 points are no longer out of reach, so he will try to break this record. So, the scoring continued. With 4 minutes and 48 seconds left in the game, the 76ers counterattacked. An 11 rushed to the front without waiting for his teammates to be seated. A chasing three-pointer shot, and with a scream, the game's 93rd point. There was only 7 points left, and the cheers on the scene never stopped. At this stage of the game, almost all the fans stood and watched the game and worshipped the game. The difference between the two teams is already very large. The 76ers are leading the Knicks by 33 points at this time, but Anzi still has not stopped. His purpose is very clear. No matter what, he is going to break records and set history. With 4 minutes and 22 seconds left in the game, the Knicks' movements started to get bigger. They didn't want to see Anzi making history above their heads, but they could not stop Anzi with conventional means, so at this time, they could only some dirty actions were used to stop Anzi. Anzi made a layup, and Rand Thomas was directly pulled down during the layup. Jack Lauder rushed to the front and pushed Rand Thomas away. Anzi eased on the floor for a while and waved his hand. This ball counts him for forgiving Rand Thomas. After all, Anzi is going to make history with the Knicks. Under the irritability of Rand Thomas, his actions are understandable. Now, his goal is to score. As long as he can score, everything is easy to say. Anzi walked to the free throw line and made 2 free throws. The 95th point of the game was scored. The big moves of the Knicks also made Anzi aware of the danger, and he must fight quickly. So, in the next round, Anzi scored a three-pointer from the outside and didn't make it. But then, he continued to work hard and continued to make three-pointers, this time in the 98th point of the game. Only 2 points away, the current narrators also stood up, and the record is in sight. With 3 minutes and 22 seconds left in the game, Anzi made another three-pointer from the outside line with a scream. With a clear sound of wiping the net, the whole scene broke out. 101 points. New record. It's done. After an unreasonable game, Wilt Chamberlain's record was lost, and Anzi became the new king. Although the traces of the final brush are too obvious, but Wilt Chamberlain's 100 points also brushed a lot in modern basketball. Anzi's 101 points are also full of gold. After getting the 101st point in the game was surprisingly stalled. Anzi scored that three-pointer and then walked towards the sidelines. The Knicks wanted to give a baseline kick, but soon, K.L. Aldridge rushed to foul the game and stop the game. Brett Brown waved for a substitution, and Anzi walked directly to the sidelines. Then, almost everyone rushed over to hug Anzi. Even the referee of this game could not help but open his arms and hug Anzi. In the game, Anzi made 62 shots and hit 35 goals, including 11 of 23 three-pointers and 20 of 25 free throws. After an extremely personal and selfish game, Anzi became the master of NBA history. At this moment, he is a legend. With more than 3 minutes left in the game, Anzi finally sat down and rested. There was no suspense in the game. This was an extremely perfect game. For the 76ers, Anzi broke the single-game scoring record and broke the consecutive scoring record. 50-plus records, and the 76ers also won the game. For Brett Brown, the most important thing is that Anzi is not injured, which is enough. Anzi's scoring can be stopped for a period of time, and then Anzi can take a good rest and take good health to finish the next period of competition. The last few minutes of the game ended at a climax. Although the players on the field became a group of players at the end of the bench that no one is familiar with, but in fact the game is no longer paying attention, they were all watching Anzi sitting on the sidelines, and everyone was discussing Anzi's 101 points. After 3 minutes, there was a buzzing sound, the timer buzzed, and the game was over. Anzi stood up and the audience cheered again. Everyone rushed in the direction of Anzi. At the request of the coach, these people showed some restraint. They just rushed in to shake hands, hug, and congratulate Anzi. And, congratulations, for making history. And, you did a great job, keep working hard. And, you are so awesome tonight, unstoppable. Anzi shook hands and hugged one by one, and at this moment, Carmelo Anthony also came over. After a handshake and a hug, Carmelo Anthony was a bit convinced by Anzi and said, "An, you are very strong, all of us are very strong tonight. Not your opponent." Anzi said thank you, and then Anzi was also escorted by the team's press officer, ready to leave. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Role Player. Author, Yuen San Buletinji. Chapter 664. The impact of 101 points was reflected after the game. Anzi has been sought after by countless reporters. The 76ers had long expected this. So when Anzi was in the locker room, the 76ers refused to enter the media. Then Anzi hurriedly took a shower and celebrated with his teammates in the locker room. After the show, he changed his clothes and prepared to go to the site of the post-match press conference. Just as Anzi was changing clothes, Jack Lauder and the others hid in the corner and conspired for a while, and then, as Anzi was about to leave the locker room, they dragged Anzi. "And, let's take a group photo." Channing Frye made a suggestion, and an 11 was shocked, then nodded. When his teammates asked for a group photo, Anzi felt that maybe they were going to post a tweet after the game and needed a group photo, so naturally they would not refuse. But when Anzi was sitting in the middle of the locker room, preparing to take a big photo with his teammates, Jack Lauder handed himself a piece of A4 blank paper. When Anzi touched the blank paper, he understood the thoughts of this group of second hands. After Wilt Chamberlain scored 100 points, he held up a piece of paper in the locker room with 100 on it. After Kobe Bryant scored 81 points, he followed suit. Now that Anzi has scored 101 points, this process is naturally indispensable. Surrounded by a group of teammates, Anzi held a 101-point card and took a picture that was widely circulated. Jack Lauder and the others used this photo to tweet, so this photo of Anzi ran out for the first time. Then, Anzi appeared at the post-match press conference. Reporters from all over the world were already crowded with the press conference, which was as popular as the post-match press conference in the final game of the finals. Brett Brown has been talking here for more than 10 minutes, but the reporters at the scene were absent-minded and completely disinterested. Until Anzi appeared, there was a commotion at the scene, and there was a noise. "And, can you tell me? and the reporters who couldn't wait to ask questions in advance were too many. The press officer on the scene felt the pressure all at once. He pressed his hands, and his hoarse voice suppressed the going crazy reporters at the scene. Facing the black press in the audience, an 11 said, "I played very well in this game and hardly passed the ball. So to a certain extent, this is an unreasonable game. According to common sense, I shouldn't play like this, but in the end, I chose to play this game in such a way. I want to thank my teammates. Without their sacrifices, I couldn't get 101 points in this game. I want to thank them. My coach, without his permission, it would be impossible for me to play until the last quarter of the game." After Angzi finished the opening session, a reporter in the audience asked, "So you deliberately scored 101 points?" Angzi nodded as usual, "Yes, I feel hot in this game. I scored 57 points in the first half. I think I have a chance, so I propose to play more games, take more shots, and score more points. The goal is the record of Mr. Wilt Chamberlain." Angzi generously admitted that he deliberately scored a 101 point. In fact, even Wilt Chamberlain of the Year did not dare to guarantee that he did not score 100 points. Moreover, Angzi's 101 points were obtained in modern basketball. The difficulty is countless levels higher, and it is not a level at all. Now, Angzi has admitted that he deliberately scored this 101 points, admitted his selfishness, and believes that there will be no sour remarks after the game. The press conference seemed very harmonious. After all, Angzi broke the greatest and heaviest gold-rich record in the history of the NBA. This is equivalent to Angzi winning an award. Now the whole person is in joy. The reporter's question: I won't go to the interest of sweeping Angzi, because from the recent games, no one in the NBA can stop Angzi from catching up with Michael Jordan. The next day, NBA officials all posted on the headlines of the official website, "A new record of 101 points, Angzi made a new legend." This 101-point game allowed Angzi to sit directly at the top of the basketball world. What Michael Jordan failed to do back then, Angzi did it. In scoring, Angzi defeated the ancient Wilt Chamberlain, defeated Michael Jordan, and now, in scoring this matter, Angzi is the first person in NBA history. NBA celebrities also expressed a lot of views on Angzi's 101 points. Magic Johnson, who has always been known for his ancient identity, was also conquered by Angzi this time. Angzi defeated Michael Jordan and Wilt Chamberlain. This is unquestionable. Now Angzi is the well-deserved first person, the first in active service. People, the #1 scorer in history, etc. LeBron James and Kevin Durant should feel sad because they were born in an era with Angzi. Charles Barkley is even more exaggerated. He believes, if Angzi has been so selfish throughout the season, averaging 50 points per game in the season is not a problem. Wilt Chamberlain took advantage of the rules of ancient basketball to score 100 points. Now, this 100 points is equivalent to 80 points at most, and Angzi scored 101 points under the rules of modern basketball. This is completely complete. The whole crush. Kenny Smith's theory of comparison also proved Angzi's 101 points great. Angzi's direct opponent, LeBron James, also expressed his views on Twitter. Angzi is great, he is very strong, and with such an opponent, we need to work harder. In fact, many people speculate that LeBron James's heart is broken at this moment, because he found that Angzi is getting stronger and stronger, and it seems that he cannot be defeated. The stronger Angzi is, the farther LeBron James' O'Brien dream is. After this 101-point game, Angzi's position in the US NBA was basically established. Now, he is still in the position of a chaser, but before that, many people did not recognize Angzi's position as a chaser because of many people believe that Angzi is still far away from surpassing Michael Jordan, and there is no definite future. No one knows whether Angzi can really catch up with Michael Jordan. But now, Anzi has done a lot of things that even Michael Jordan hadn't done. Maybe it's not a dream to surpass Michael Jordan in the future. The popularity of 101 points continued for several weeks, and the discussion about 101 points continued until the All-Star weekend. Anzi only played 2 quarters in the next game. Anzi did not want to miss any game, but the game time was under Brett Brown's control. Anzi needed a rest, so he only played 2 quarters. Anzi, it can be regarded as an alternative rest. In the next few games, Anzi didn't have enough playing time, and the 76ers also lost a few games. Before the All-Star weekend, the 76ers achieved a record of 40 wins and 12 losses, continued to rank first in the league and maintained their strength. After half a month's rest, Anzi's state has returned to its peak again. He is here for All-Star weekend. Super Role Player. Author, Yuen Sanbuletinji. Chapter 666. The annual All-Star Weekend is coming. In this season's All-Star vote, Anzi is the top voter, but there is no controversy about this voter. As the first player in active service, Anzi has already had a great deal of the first man in history, Michael Jordan. Threat: this is something that neither LeBron James nor Kobe Bryant could do. Therefore, Anzi's voter is well deserved. The 2015 All-Star Game will be held in New York City, where the main match will be held at Madison Square Garden Arena, while the rest, such as the three-point contest and dunk contest, will be held at the Nets' new arena Barclays Center. This season's All-Star Weekend, Anzi fulfilled his promise. Not only will he continue to participate in the All-Star Game, he will also participate in the skill contest, slam dunk contest and three-point contest. In addition, he will also play the role of coach in the Masters and Rookie game. In short, this All-Star weekend, Anzi's schedule is full, which also makes fans look forward to it. Anzi is about to kill the quartet. This All-Star weekend is a good one. This year's All-Star, the 76ers have 2 participants, they are Anzi and Pau Gasol. There was originally Mkawhi, but Mkawhi has been sent away before that. The former NBA Rookie of the Year is a season later. Was eventually sent away by the team. Mkawhi was sent to the New York Knicks, and the final bargaining chip in exchange was only the Knicks' first-round draft pick next season, and Jason Smith. Just looking at the Knicks' current record, it looks like the Knicks is the steal. The trade was a big loss, but in fact, this first-round pick was protected. At the request of Phil Jackson, this pick was protected by a top 8 pick. In other words, if the top 8 picks are drawn, the picks will return to the Knicks, and the first-round picks for next season, regardless of the position drawn, will belong to the 76ers. But if the pick after 8 is drawn, the pick will go to the 76ers that season. Judging from the current record of the Knicks, it is basically impossible for this draft pick to be selected after the 8th pick, so this is the confidence of Phil Jackson to make this transaction. As for next season, Phil Jackson believes that the high-ranking rookie selected in the draft, Carmelo Anthony, and the former rookie Mkawhi, who has just been traded, form a new core lineup, and there will be no lottery next season. Trading a non-lottery pick for a Rookie of the Year is a very profitable trade no matter how you look at it. Jason Smith has been completely ignored. In this deal, Jason Smith is a superfluous, totally unimportant. However, for the 76ers, the arrival of Jason Smith supplemented the team's inside line, and the team's inside line finally has no shortage of people. After sending Mkawhi away, the Sixers' starting point guard position was secured by Ismail Smith. Of course, he was only a pseudo-starter. The real main force was Lewis Williams, who will come on the bench as the important task of grabbing points. Both Anzi and Pau Gasol participated in the All-Star game. Anzi was the starter and Pau Gasol was also the starter. The other 3 starters in the East were LeBron James, John Wall, and Carmelo Anthony. Anzi and Wall partnered in the backcourt, and LeBron James and Carmelo Anthony and Pau Gasol were in the front court. After several years of reforms, the All-Star game has only divided the front court and the back court, regardless of guards, forwards, and centers. In the West, James Harden lost the injured Kobe's starting position, Stephen Curry was another starting backcourt player, and the front trio were Kevin Durant, LaMarcus Aldridge, and Marc Gasol. In the Eastern Conference, Kyle Lowry, Jeff Teague, Kelly Irving, Chris Bosh, Al Horford, Jimmy Butler, and Paul Millsap formed the bench. In the West, Russell Westbrook, DeMarcus Cousins, Chris Paul, Damian Lillard, Dirk Nowitzki, Klay Thompson, and Tim Duncan form the bench in the West. In the skill contest, in addition to Angie's participation, Jazz's Trey Burke, Wizards' John Wall, Bulls' Jimmy Butler, Raptors' Kyle Lowry, Eagles' Jeff Teague, and just transferred to the Knicks McGovern and Isaiah Thomas of the Phoenix Suns will participate in this single event together. Faced with a group of small men of about 1 meter and 9 meters, a big man of 2 meters in Angie is still at a disadvantage to participate in this event. This will test his basic skills. The Shooting Star contest has also been reformed this year. In the past, the teams were formed by cities, such as the New York and Dallas teams. This year, the teams will be formed by NBA stars, such as the Angie team. In addition to Angie will team up to participate, there will also be Chris Bosh, Stephen Curry and Carmelo Anthony will team up to participate, of which Chris Bosh is the defending champion of this event. Obviously he will be Angie's strong opponent. In the three-point contest, Angie also chose to participate. Once the three-pointer returned, he faced the Eagles' Kyle Korver, the sharpshooter with the highest three-point shooting percentage this season, the Warriors' Klay Thompson, the former three-point king. Stephen Curry of the Warriors is also the previous three-point king, Kelly Irving, James Harden, J.J. Redick and Marco Bellinelli. Angie also participated in the dunk contest. The strongest yellow dunkers returned, which inspired the desire of many super dunkers in the league to participate. Giannis Antetokounmpo of the Greek Longmen and the Bucks announced the participation, and Victor Oladipo of the Orlando Magic also announced the participation. In addition, Zach Lavin, who is considered to be very similar to Kobe Bryant, this dunk contest from looking at the lineup, it is equally exciting. Both the Rookie Challenge and Masters Angie will be in charge. His opponents are Stephen Curry of the Rookie Challenge and James Harden of the Masters. They will select their own players before the game and divide them into two. The team will face off against each other on the field. These two games will reflect Angie's coaching ability and are also a place for Angie to show off his own alternative. In short, this year's All-Star game, Angie will attack across the board and aim for a slam. Therefore, this kind of Angie has naturally become the focus of everyone's attention. After arriving in New York, Angie held a small media meeting at the Hilton Hotel where he stayed. The remaining 101 points were still there, and Angie accepted it on the spot. When reporters asked questions, some reporters still asked about 101 points. In this regard, Angie answered seriously, but added one sentence at the end: 101 points are already in the past. I believe I can create even more brilliant results. And for this All-Star weekend, Angie also appeared confident: I participate in all the games, the goal is victory, all the victories, all the championships, all the trophies. Angie wanted to take all the victories, championships, and trophies, and everyone was shocked when he said this. Super Role Player. Author, Yuen San Buletinji. Chapter 667. On Saturday, February 14, 2015, at 6 o'clock in the morning, Angie jumped up from the bed in excitement. Next to him was Abby. By the crib next to the big bed, little Angel was sleeping soundly. Angie got up, first kissed Abby, who was half asleep, and then ran to the crib and touched Angel's face. After greeted Abby in a low voice, Angie took a wash and went straight out. After jogging around the hotel for morning exercises, the air in New York was still very good. Angzi ran a lap. After a short run, Angzi saw a few reporters by the bushes beside him. Angzi was shocked and reacted quickly and smiled. At this time, New York was the time when the big names gathered. In a big hotel like the Hilton Hotel, there must be reporters staying nearby. But when they saw Angzi, these reporters didn't have much thoughts. Angzi held the meeting one day ago. In a small media meeting, it can be said that there are any questions, and that meeting is over. When I met Angzi again one day later, they had no questions to ask and no interest. We greeted Angzi, and several reporters continued to stay. Angzi ran for a while, and soon received a call from the NBA official that Angzi was about to start working. I found a car and drove by myself to the Barclays Center. The Barclays Center is in Brooklyn. Angzi drove for half an hour before arriving here. When he arrived, the young players who participated in the rookie game basically arrived. But Angzi's priority was not to meet these young players. He was taken to another small room by the league staff. In that small room, Angzi met the representatives of the Masters, Kevin Hart and Allen Houston. Kevin Hart was the MVP of the previous Masters, and Allen Houston is the CIC King and a New York star. This year's Masters was invited to participate, which also means a landlord. In this celebrity tournament, Angzi will coach the Eastern District celebrities. Allen Houston is naturally the representative of the Eastern District celebrities. On the other hand, the Western District celebrities will be headed by James Harden. James Harden also has a talented player, naturally Lian Shuang. Kevin Hart of MVP. Angzi greeted Kevin Hart and James Harden, and was then pulled to the other side by Allen Houston to discuss the Masters in the afternoon. There will be a joint training before the Masters, but it is just a formality. I hope this group of amateur basketball enthusiasts can cooperate. I think too much. Allen Houston took Angzi to discuss, and the discussion was only the arrangement of the afternoon. Array. There are not many players in the Masters, and the Eastern Conference celebrities have only 8 players. In addition to Allen Houston, there are also emerging star Ansel Elgort, famous actor Chadwick Boseman, and Indian star Abhishek Bach, WNBA star Shawnee Schmall, popular American sportsman Manny Davis, actor Anthony Anderson and comedian Michael Rappaport. The starting lineup is not very well arranged. After all, they are all short people. Angzi thought for a while and decided, Sean Skimmel and Manny Davis start, and in addition, Abhishek Bachchan and Michael Rappaport also join the starting list. Angzi's starting list, first of all, are 3 celebrities in the sports world, and 3 physically superior starters, showing Angzi's determination to win. And Abhishek Bachchan's starter took care of the Indian market, while Michael Rappaport was because he was a comedian. One more comedian on the court may require a lot of highlights and jokes. Angzi's arrangement is comprehensive enough, and Allen Houston naturally approves of it. After arranging the Masters game, Angzi moved to the court, and the young players in the rookie game were all waiting. The grouping of the rookie game does not need to be managed by Angzi, because this rookie game will be divided into 2 groups, the international team and the US team. The international team led by Angzi is naturally the international team. Stephen Curry is the coach of the US team. The 2 will be in the rookie game. An alternative duel was staged on the arena. The rookies of the international team include Andrew Wiggins, Minnesota Timberwolves, Steven Adams, Oklahoma City Thunder, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Milwaukee Bucks, Bojan Bogdanovic, Brooke, Lynn Nets, Gideon, Minnesota Timberwolves, Dante Exum, Utah Jazz, Nikola Mirotic, Chicago Bulls, Rudy Gobert, Utah Jazz, Kevin Olynyk, Boston Celtics, Dennis Schroeder, Atlanta Hawks. The rookies of the U.S. team include Kawhi, New York Knicks, Victor Oladipo, Orlando Magic, Trey Burke, Utah Jazz, Pope, Detroit Pistons, Zach Lavin, Minnesota Timberwolves, Shabazz Muhammad, Minnesota Timberwolves, Lawrence Knoll, Philadelphia 76ers, Mason Plumlee, Brooklyn Nets, Cody Taylor, Charlotte Hornets, Alfred Payton, Orlando Magic. Anzi saw Nkaway from a distance, and the two said hello. The atmosphere was a little embarrassing. "Michael, how are you doing?" "Not bad," Nkaway responded shortly, with no special expression on his face, but Anzi knew that Nkaway had some opinions about Anzi in his heart, and even held back his energy. Originally, as the best rookie, Nkaway should be the true core of the 76ers, but the emergence of Anzi not only took away Nkaway's opportunity, but also made Nkaway's performance on the court more and more struggling. Finally had to walk away. Nkaway's response was brief, and the two didn't say anything. An 11 turned around and summoned his own players. Andrew Wiggins, Canadian, champion of the season, joined the Timberwolves through a trade, and has averaged 16.9 points, 4.6 rebounds, 2.1 assists and 1.0 steals per game so far this season, which is considered a certain number of champions. Steven Adams, a New Zealand athlete, a second-year student, averaged 7.7 points, 7.5 rebounds and 1.2 blocks per game this season. This season's performance has made up for the lack of inside the Thunder. Giannis Antetokounmpo, a Greek senior, has made significant progress this season, averaging 12.7 points, 6.7 rebounds, 2.6 assists and 1.0 steals per game. As a sophomore, he was also selected for the rookie game. Bojan Bogdanovic, Boss, rookie this season, 3-point shooter, averaged 9.0 points and 2.7 rebounds this season. Gekadione, Senegalese athlete, insider, sophomore, averaged 9.7 points and 8.3 rebounds this season. Dante Exam, Australian, point guard, rookie, Nikola Mirotic, Spaniard, forward, Rudy Gobert, French, center, Kevin Olynyk, Canadian, center, Dennis Schroeder, French, point guard. This is all the players under Anzi. According to the Fame data, the starting lineup has long been determined. Point guard Dennis Schroeder, shooting guard Andrew Wiggins, small forward Giannis Antetokounmpo, power forward Nikola Mirotic and center Rudy Gobert. Unlike the Masters, the rookie Cy Anzi is going to play a little tactical routine, so he called up all the young players and said a few words first. "Dear young talents, I am Anzi, you can call me in." A total of 10 players stood in front of Anzi, some of them smiled, and Anzi also smiled. "You are all newcomers who have just entered the league, or have just entered the league for more than a year. The rookie game will be yours to show yourself in front of everyone. On the first stage, you must really want to get the final victory, and you must also want to play a perfect game, but what I want to say is that if you want to win and want a perfect performance, you must follow me. Because your playing time is under my control, and your playing style on the court must follow what I said." Anzi's idea is simple. In this rookie game, he also wants to let his players cooperate, instead of blindly singles, blindly grab the right to shoot. Such a game is not good and he does not want to see it. Therefore, after Anzi said a few words, he felt that it was almost done, so he arranged a time to prepare to practice tactics. Anzi's tactical arrangement is also very simple, that is, simple pick and roll tactics and some bullhorn tactics. Most teams have the conventional play style of these two tactics, so it is very simple to practice. In addition, Anzi also asked about the opinions of the players. Some players hope to make achievements in the rookie game. Anzi is prepared to allocate shots based on the wishes of these players and the status at the time. The result of the final inquiry is that Andrew Wiggins and Giannis Antetokounmpo are interested in playing well in the rookie game, so Anzi is going to allocate most of the shots to these two. After roughly finishing the arrangement, Anzi left the Barclays Center. Anzi was very busy. He seized his spare time in the afternoon and went to another private arena in Brooklyn to meet some of his teammates in the shooting star contest the next day. Charles Barkley opened his arms and rushed towards Anxi. Such a big fat man of 300 caddies was about to hang directly on Anxi. And, happy or not, excited or not, from now on, I am your teammate. Charles Barkley is very stunned. This guy has a desire to perform, even if there are no people in the arena. He looks very lively, active. A Hall of Fame player being your teammate, you should feel very hilarious. Anxi smiled and nodded, as if helplessly said, yes, yes, Charles, I'm very excited, I'm very high. An 11 made a perfunctory sentence and turned to look to the other side. Elena Dunn, the star of the WNBA Washington Mysteries, has been popular in the United States with a perfect face. Of course, her basketball skills are also very strong, otherwise she would just use one face. It is still difficult for her to get to the present stage. At least Anxi would not consider a player with poor basketball skills when choosing a shooting star teammate. The combination of the shooting star contest is generally composed of 3 players, an active player, an NBA retired player, and a WNBL star, so Anxi's shooting star team is together. The rule of the shooting star contest is that there are 6 shooting points and 3 people shoot separately. After the first one makes a shot, the next one can shoot. The winner will be determined through a round of competition. The 6 shooting points are, right 45 degrees and 3 meters, left 45 degrees and 3 meters, circle top 3-pointer, right bottom line 3-pointer, left 45-degree 3-pointer and midfield long-range 3-pointer. The competition is divided into 2 rounds. 2 teams are eliminated in the first round, and the winner is determined in the second round. For Anxi, these 6 shooting points are not a big problem. Elena Dunn may spend a little more time, but it is not a big problem. It is Charles Barkley. As an inside player in the player era, Charles Barkley the 3-pointer is a problem. Mid to long range shooting is not a big problem, but whether Charles Barkley, who has been retired for a long time, can find a front sight is indeed a problem. Anxi held a skeptical attitude, and Charles Barkley was naturally unconvinced. He shot a 3-pointer at the top and bottom corner of the arc, and the result was a precise hit. Then, Charles Barkley began to cry again. Anxi was helpless, but these 2 3-pointers still let Anxi see Charles Barkley in a good state, and also let Anxi see the hope of winning the shooting star contest. After Anxi, Elena Dorn, and Charles Barkley practiced shooting for a while, Anxi began to practice dunks in the other half. Shooting is really nothing for Anxi to practice, but for dunks, Anxi has to prepare a few routines. Charles Barkley leaned in and wanted to give some guidance, but was eventually driven away by Anxi. The afternoon's All-Star game is approaching soon, and the Barclays Center is gradually becoming lively. As the NBA's annual show, the Barclays Center has many celebrities from all walks of life in the United States. Some of them come to join in the fun, and some really like it. In basketball, some came to the scene to seek exposure. For example, an 18th-line female star from China, dressed in clothes on the scene, holding a 1-to-1 portrait of Anxi, looks like a fan of Anxi, but in fact, such a big brainless woman understands basketball. No one knows how much. She went viral through the live broadcast all of a sudden. Anxi ignored the monsters and monsters on the sidelines. He turned around and walked to the coach's bench, directly organizing his players to warm up, and then he was interviewed by Turner Sports Odazid reporter David Aldridge on the sidelines. "And, do you have any goals to play in the Masters and rookie games as a coach this time?" Anxi smiled, "This is the beginning of my coaching career. I hope to win these 2 games and make a good start for my coaching career." "Masters, are you going to start those celebrities?" "I've already thought about the starter, but for the time being, I'm not going to reveal it yet." Anxi sold it off, and David Aldridge shook his head and laughed. Then, the last question was asked, so if you win these 2 games, how would you celebrate? I will treat everyone to a big meal. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Role Player. Author, Yuen Sanbuletinji. Chapter 668. The Masters Tournament started soon. There is really nothing to play in this Masters Tournament. Even Angzi didn't pay much attention to it, and there was no specific tactics. Alan Houston, Shawnee Chimel, Monty Davis, Abhishek Bachchan, and Michael Rappaport made the first 5 debuts, and on the west side, James Harden also put out a similar lineup: NBA star Chris Mullin, WNBA star Maya Moore, sports giant Blake Ripper, famous singer Nick Cannon, and pre-Masters MVP, well-known comedian Kevin Hart. In terms of lineup, the Western Division team should be stronger. After all, the Western Division team has an extra Kevin Hart. Generally speaking, the former NBA celebrities participating in the celebrity games are not allowed to really exert their strength, so the real test is the prowess of these amateur players. Kevin Hart's prowess has been proven in the previous celebrity games. The strongest in the amateurs, so the 2 teams fight. The Eastern team is still a bit difficult. The game was divided into 2 halves. In the first half, Angzi deployed troops on the sidelines. Alan Houston failed to play. WNBA star Shawnee Skimmel did not play for a few minutes. He was also replaced by Angzi due to physical and gender issues. Went on. On the contrary, Monty Davis was very active on the court, scoring consecutively, helping the Eastern Conference team to stabilize the situation. The Indian Abhishek Bachchan played soy sauce on the court. After 3 or 4 minutes of the game, Abhishek Bachchan only touched the ball once and didn't score. The defense on the court was also acting, so after 3 or 4 minutes, Abhishek Bachchan was replaced. It was Michael Rappaport who did well on the court and scored 5 or 6 points, so he was always on the court. Angzi replaced Ansel Elgort and Anthony Anderson in the second half of the game. The performance of the 2 Hollywood stars was still very good. Generally speaking, the Eastern and Western regions were pecking each other. The scores of the 2 teams were not high. After the game, the score only exceeded 30 points. At 37:30, the West Division led by 7 points. The disadvantage of 7 points is very big, because the scoring ability of the 2 teams is very poor. The 7-point difference is equivalent to the 15-point difference of the ordinary NBA regular season, and the gap is still quite large. However, after halftime, Angzi had some ideas. After observing the halftime game, Angzi found that Monty Davis had a strong breakthrough ability. After all, he was fast and had a strong physical fitness. Therefore, Angzi felt that in the second half, perhaps we can use Monty Davis as the core to play a breakthrough tactics. Breaking through the ball, the team still needs a few shooters from the outside. Michael Rappaport's three-pointer is still a bit accurate. Although Alan Houston can't play too much, he can still shoot a few open shots from the outside. Both of them can shoot. Coupled with Shawnee Chimel's mid-range shot and inside protection, a well-deserved core lineup was formed. In the second half, the weaker Eastern Conference team still had to strive for victory. In this game, several major television stations in the United States sent their own capable commentary team. Turner Sports sent a commentary combination of Kenny Smith, Charles Barkley, Shaquille O'Neal, and Mike Bryn. 4 people accounted for a very large team. The big open space began to explain the second half of the celebrity game. Angzi's coaching debut is not considered a success. Depending on the situation, the Eastern Conference team will lose. Shaquille O'Neal's face was gloating. He was happy to see Angzi speaking big words and unable to accomplish his goal. After all, they would have a topic. As long as Angzi loses the celebrity game, they can laugh at it after the game. Angzi's coaching ability is now. Kenny Smith also agreed with Shaquille O'Neal, but he believes that Angzi is still subject to the strength of the team. Compared with the Western Division team, the Eastern Division team is still a bit weaker. In this kind of disruptive exhibition game, the coach's role is still too small. The second half of the game began after a 15-minute break. Angzi made adjustments and the core lineup on the court changed. It became Monty Davis, Michael Rappaport, Alan Houston, and Shawnee. The four of Chimel must start, the other one rotates. Angzi first sent the Indian Abhishek Bachchan, and he was going to let this Indian try again. With the first goal in the opening game, Monty Davis broke through. Although the West Division's defense was pretending, this wave was still defensive. After all, Monty Davis is an amateur player. He still has a bad judgment on the situation on the court. If he is replaced by Angzi, if he can't make a layup, he will choose to pass. But Monty Davis still chose to be strong, and ultimately did not score. An 11 stood up on the sidelines and organized a wave of defense. After turning around Shawnee Chimel to grab a rebound, an 11 shouted, fast break, give Monty the ball. Monty Davis is very fast. Shawnee Davies is a professional player after all. After Angzi shouted, she immediately reacted. An over-the-top long pass immediately passed the ball in front of Monty Davis. Monty Davis rushed to the rim at high speed, and the Western Division could not return to defense. Monty Davis seized the opportunity and succeeded in a layup. The point difference was reduced to 5 points, and after this wave of fast break, Monty Davis also found some feeling. After the offense of the West Division team again failed, Monty Davis turned around and continued to break through. The West Division team doubled and blocked. Monty Davis scored the ball directly to Alan Houston, and Alan Houston got an open space. A chance to step on the line, a 2-point shot, and with a scream, the point difference was reduced to 3 points. In just 2 or 3 rounds, the point difference was reduced to 3 points, and Angzi's tactics were about to succeed. He waved his arm from the sidelines, and then continued to encourage the team to make persistent efforts. Within a few rounds, Monty Davis' breakthrough point and ball play has achieved great results. The Western Division can only score 1 point in a minute, while the Eastern Division is scoring consecutively, which gives a taste of professional basketball. Mon Davis' breakthrough is very sharp, and the score is also very good. This reminds me of LeBron James. Did the Eastern Division play in the second half come from Angzi's guidance? The Eastern Division team overtook the score. Now they are ahead. Angzi did a great job. The wind direction on the commentary table changed suddenly, and the Eastern Conference team played the breakthrough goal in a decent way. This may be the simplest tactical play, and it is also the most effective. The final result is that the Eastern Division team has also made some progress, and the comments on Angzi have naturally changed. The second half of the game was quickly finished under the control of the Eastern Division. In the first half, the two teams played 37-30. In the second half, the situation was completely reversed. The Eastern Division played 47-29 of the Western Division. The whole game was 77-59. The Eastern Division beat the Western Division. Monty Davis, who scored 17 points, 3 rebounds and 7 assists, eventually became the MVP of the Masters, and he also broke the monopoly of Kevin Hart. When accepting the award, Monty Davis also thanked an 11. After all, there was no breakthrough point strategy of Angzi, no play of Monty Davis, and no win of the Eastern Division. The Masters game ended successfully. Angzi also made a good start for his coaching career and won his coaching debut victory. After resting for about half an hour, an 11 entered the dressing room backstage again. This time, the players under his hands changed again. The rookie challenge is about to begin. Angzi will lead the international team to challenge the supremacy of the US team. In the afternoon, Angzi talked a lot with this group of young players, and practiced some tactics. Now, before the start of the game, Angzi said a few more words. Angzi played for Popovich before, and he still knows a little bit about the art of coaching. He said a few words before the game to boost morale, which is quite useful. Although this game is only an exhibition game, for some people, the importance of this game will not be lower than that of any regular season you played. For others, this game you also need to think about the meaning of it. An 11 walked back and forth in the center of the locker room, and then continued, in its name, this game is an international team against the US team. The hegemony of the United States is not only reflected in its political and economic aspects, but also reflected in its political and economic aspects. In its basketball game, we now have a chance to break their hegemony. This game is an opportunity. Against the United States, defeating the United States, breaking the hegemony, Angzi said a lot, but it was very effective. The young international players were agitated, yelling to defeat the hegemony of the American team, proving that international basketball is no worse than American basketball. After the end of the Masters and before the start of the rookie game, Angzi once again accepted an interview with David Aldridge on the sidelines. Won the Masters, how do you feel now? Angzi smiled and replied, it's great, this is a good start for my coaching career. You have shown your coaching talent in a big victory over the stronger Western Division team. What do you think Brett Brown would think? Hearing this question, an 11 smiled even more happily, Brett? I think he should feel the crisis, he must do it well, otherwise. For the rookie game, is your goal still to win? Of course. Do you have any special arrangements, like the breakout tactics of the previous Masters? Angzi continued to laugh, to be honest, there must be an arrangement, but the game hasn't started yet, I definitely can't disclose it. David Aldridge nodded helplessly, and stopped asking. The interview was over, and the warm-up on the court was over. The game was about to begin. Angzi gathered 5 starters on the sidelines and shouted, come on, then, the 5 starters walked to the center of the court. The rookie game is about to begin, and the international team's starting lineup has been released. Point guard Dennis Schroeder, shooting guard Andrew Wiggins, small forward Giannis Antetokounmpo, power forward Nikola Mirotic and center Lou Gobert. The US team's starting lineup is also out, with point guard Nkaway, shooting guard Victor Oladipo, small forward Caldwell Pope, power forward Cody Zeller and center Nolan Snell. In this game, in addition to the confrontation between the young players on the field, what we can also look forward to is the confrontation between the 2 coaches on the sidelines, Angzi and Stephen Curry. Angzi glanced at the US team. Stephen Curry was wearing a suit and was also commanding in a decent way. At the start of the game, the 2 teams jumped the ball. Rudy Gobert has long arms and long arms. In the center position, the international team has the advantage. Although Nolan Snell is Angzi's teammate, Angzi must admit that in the center position, Nolan Snell is not as good as Rudy Gobert's. The jump ball also reflected this. Rudy Gobert won the jump ball and the international team attacked first. The international team's offensive routine is the pick and roll. The international team started with a horn and a pick and roll at the top of the arc. Dennis Schroeder rushed into the interior with the help of the pick and roll, but then, under the interference of Nolan Snell, Dennis Schroeder did not make a layup, and the rebound was taken by Cody Zeller. The US team counterattacked immediately, but the counterattack was also extinguished by the international team. The US team's offense was still very poor. Nkaway was restricted by his state and could not play. Victor Oladipo was the best offensive player of the US team, but in terms of scoring, he is still a bit worse than Wiggins and Antetokounmpo, not to mention the Cody Zeller and Nolan Snell in the inside line, they are not offensive players at all. So this goal was strong, but Dennis Schroeder was defended by Dennis Schroeder. Instead, it was the subsequent wave of fast-breaking counterattacks, or Dennis Schroeder, who took advantage of his speed advantage to rush to the front court and make a direct layup. 2 points are credited, 2:0. Wiggins and Giannis Antetokounmpo didn't have much performance in the opening game, but Dennis Schroeder, the French point guard, was very active in the opening game, made continuous fast break breakthroughs, and eventually took the lead to score 2 points. Subsequently, the American team attacked. After a while from outside, Mkaway found an opportunity to pass to Cody Zeller. Cody Zeller made a hit and scored a 2-point. But then, Andrew Wiggins began to take over the game. An 11 arranged several singles tactics for Wiggins, all of which were able to get mid to long range shots after passing the pick and roll. Andrew Wiggins' mid and long range shooting is still very accurate, but his rookie season is not much chance, otherwise he can kill the quartet. Now, Anzi gave Wiggins a chance, and Wiggins naturally scored again and again. The celebrity game was replaced by a rookie game in the lineup. Anzi finally had an advantage. In the first quarter, Anzi directly let Andrew Wiggins various singles. After various scoring, the starting international team occupied initiative. Then, Anzi replaced Giannis Antetokounmpo early to let another big killer of the international team rest. Relying on a semi-main lineup, he took a 5-point lead in the first quarter. Then, in the second quarter, Anzi replaced Giannis Antetokounmpo with long hands and long arms, another big killer of the international team, but at this time, the US team also had a surprise attack, and this surprise was Zach LaVine, Anzi's opponent in the dunk contest tomorrow. LaVine is considered to be a lot like Kobe Bryant, shooting guard, number 8 player, 13th overall in the league, dunks and so on. In the rookie game, Zach LaVine also broke out. After hitting 3-pointers, he actually helped the US team stabilize the situation. But Anzi's countermeasures also came very quickly, directly offering the tactics of the masters, allowing Antetokounmpo to break through the score, and Dante Exum, Bojan Bogdanovic, and Niguo were placed on the outside. Rami Roddick, shooting 3-pointers, halftime. The international team led the US team by 11 points with 66:55. Super Role Player. Author, Yuen Sanbuletnji. Chapter 669. The rookie game went very smoothly. The two big killers of the international team took turns to battle. Although the American team also had the dark horse of Zach LaVine, it was difficult to beat the opponent's hands, and the American team was quickly defeated. During the intermission, the international team's locker room was full of joy. The easy lead in the first half made the international team feel very excited. They completed half of their goals, and they were only close to playing the second half and winning the game. Anzi stood in the middle of the locker room and clapped his hands. Well, everyone played well in the first half. This is worthy of praise, but I hope you know one thing, the game is not over yet. An 11 waved his arm and continued, we only led by 11 points in the first half. This is far from enough. In the second half, we need more leads to ensure the final victory. Only by winning can we prove the international basketball is so powerful that only by winning, some of you will have a chance to win the final MVP trophy. In the second half, tactics did not require much change, and Anzi needed to maintain the desire of this group of young players to win. The rookie game is an exhibition game. Who wins and loses depends on the strength of the two teams, and also on who wants to win more. The US team obviously didn't want to lose, but under Anzi's encouragement, the desire of the international team to win is obviously stronger. In the second half, Anzi continued to separate the playing time of Andrew Wiggins and Giannis Antetokounmpo. The two played for half a quarter. In the end, the international team won another 7 points in the third quarter. After 3 quarters, the international team led the US team by 18 points. In the first half of the fourth quarter, Anzi dispatched troops, and the score gradually widened to 20 points. The big score is 20 points ahead, and the victory of the game has been won by Anzi in advance. The international team led the US team by 20 points. No one thought that the gap between the two teams would be so big at the end of this rookie game. If there is an All-Star Coach Award, I think I can give one to Angzi. Because it was an exhibition game, there was no saying that the two teams surrendered early. There were not many players on the two teams, and there was no talk of replacing them. So in the second half of the fourth quarter, the two teams played all the main players. Angzi replaced the best players in this game, with the goal of achieving a greater victory. Andrew Wiggins and Giannis Antetokounmpo joined forces, together with Dennis Schroeder and Rudy Gobert, who were in good shape in this game. In the last 7 minutes or so, after the international team made a strong effort, it turned out to be there was a wave of 15:4 attacks, and the score difference was pulled to more than 30 points. Charles Barkley in the commentary jokingly said, "The point difference in this rookie game may be the biggest in the history of the All-Star Weekend rookie game." Angzi and his lads created this major victory. In the last 2 minutes, the international team slowed down the pace of offense. In the end, the international team won the United States with 34 points in 127:93. Obviously, the 34-point difference is already the largest in rookie game history. After all, this is only an exhibition game. Before that, the teams were divided into the East and West regions. The strength difference between the two teams was not too great. However, this time, the rookie game suddenly divided the international team and the US team. It is precisely in recent years that the international player drama with the increase, the strength of international players has also greatly increased. All of a sudden, the international team overwhelmed the American team. Originally, the international team was more likely to win this rookie game. As a result, Angzi also organized a specific tactical play, and the gap between the two teams was even greater. It is not surprising to score such a score. It's just that the difference in points is too big, which makes the US team a bit embarrassed. In the commentary, Charles Barkley announced, "The 34-point difference is the largest in rookie game history." Andrew Wiggins scored 27 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists and 2 steals. Giannis Antetokounmpo scored 22 points, 8 rebounds and 8 assists. Dennis Schroeder also scored 19 points, 4 rebounds and 7 assists. All three of them have a chance to win the final MVP, but we cannot ignore one person, Angzi. Angzi did not play in this game, but his performance made many people see him. He stood on the sidelines and directed a wonderful game. I want to say that Angzi also has a chance to compete for the final MVP in this game. Kenny Smith laughed, "Not blowing like this, no, Angzi has won the rookie game MVP, this MVP is not rare for him." 10 minutes later, in the eyes of everyone's expectation, the sponsor announced that Giannis Antetokounmpo became the final winner and won the MVP trophy. Angzi stood on the sidelines and applauded. On the first day of the All-Star Weekend, he completed all his goals and won the Masters and Rookie games. The victory of the two games made Angzi a good start for the All-Star Weekend. In the competition, Angzi's confidence was even stronger. After the two games, Angzi participated in the post-match press conference. Facing his opponent Stephen Curry in the rookie game, Angzi smiled and said, "In terms of coaching, Stephen was defeated by me, maybe he should think about where he can beat me, 3 points. No, he will have to lose tomorrow." During the interview, Angzi made a ruthless remark for tomorrow's game, making the reporters at the scene dumbfounded. Stephen Curry is Angzi's opponent in the second day of the three-point contest. The three-pointer is Stephen Curry's masterpiece and the basis for Stephen Curry's foothold in the NBA. Angzi's three-pointer is not his main offensive method, but his three-pointer is completely. It can be compared with Stephen Curry's three-pointers, and even from Angzi's three-point performance this season, Angzi's three-pointers even exceed Stephen Curry's three-pointers by a large margin. Therefore, Angzi's ruthless words will not make people feel like a big talk, and even some Angzi Iron fans take it for granted. Stephen Curry wants to make a three-pointer with Angzi. Let's talk about it when he can shoot a three-pointer from the midfield line. In addition to this ruthless remark, Ang Zi also said about the outlook for the game tomorrow. For the shooting star contest, I have two outstanding teammates. Charles is a well-known commentator of Turner Sports TV. He is in a very good state. As long as he plays normally tomorrow, it shouldn't be a problem to beat the others. Irene Nottern is a beautiful basketball player, her strength is proportional to her appearance, plus myself, I believe I can win that game. Chris Bosch? Indeed, they are very strong and they are the defending champions of this event, but that is because we have not participated in this game. If we did, the champion of this event would definitely be ours. I know about several of my opponents about the dunk contest. I don't think they will be better than me. I believe I can win. In the three-point contest, Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson are strong, but I am stronger. Skill contest? Yes, I'm a little taller, but it doesn't prevent me from playing. Super role player. Author, Yuen San Buletinji. Chapter 670. On February 15, 2015, US time, the second day of the All-Star Weekend, Ang Zi continued to be busy. On this day, Ang Zi will participate in 4 events, and all 4 events require practice. It can be said that the day is full. In the morning, Ang Zi practiced the shooting star contest and the three-point contest. These 2 events are played on the spot. As long as the basic skills of shooting are in place, Ang Zi has a chance to win the game. The same is true for the skill competition, but Ang Zi has practiced more often. After all, there are routines in the skill competition. You need to follow the prescribed route and complete the competition through obstacles. Ang Zi still needs to be familiar with the route. However, after practicing for a few times, Ang Zi has the confidence to win. His basic skills are still very strong. After practicing the routes and routines a few times, Ang Zi knows how to end the game as quickly as possible. It was the dunk contest, Ang Zi had to prepare well. In this dunk contest, Ang Zi's opponents are Zach Ravin, Giannis Antetokounmpo and Victor Oladipo. All 3 of Ang Zi need to pay attention to them. Zach Ravin's dunks in college are quite famous and are considered to be another generation of demigods after Vince Carter. Giannis Antetokounmpo, a Greek man, with long hands, long legs, long arms, long body, and good physical condition, he is also very optimistic about participating in the dunk contest this time. Victor Oladipo is not well known. Although Oladipo often dunks in games, everyone knows that dunks in actual combat and dunks in dunk contests are different. The two cannot be confused. Don't you see LeBron James also often staged dunks in the game, but LeBron James just dare not participate in the dunk contest, because of the nature of the dunk, LeBron James is not good at. In the same way, Victor Oladipo is also not very good at performing dunks. In this dunk contest, he is destined to accompany him, unless the other 3 play abnormally. The competition system of this dunk contest has returned to the classic competition system. It is no longer divided into the East and the West. The dunk points are divided into the preliminary and rematch rounds. In each round, players have 2 chances to dunk. The 2 players with the highest total score of the 2 dunks will enter the rematch. The rematch is also 2 dunks. The player with the highest total score of the 2 dunks will be the ultimate dunk king. Therefore, Ang Zi needs to prepare at least 4 dunks, and considering the possibility of overtime and slam dunks, Ang Zi also needs to prepare 1 more dunk. In order not to slam dunk with him in the dunk contest, Ang Zi also looked back and watched his winning history. Ang Zi's first dunk was a leap over Yao Ming, which was quite shocking in the Houston All-Star game at the time. This deduction also earned Ang Zi a perfect score of 50 points. After all, Ang Zi was a super long man with a height of 2.26 meters. The second buckle was a 360 degrees turnaround and 2 double buckles. This buckle by Ang Zi showed his creativity and difficulty, so he also got a perfect score of 50 points. With perfect scores in both rounds, Angzi entered the final. In the first dunk in the final, Angzi played a gimmick, a free throw line took off and dunked, and played a slogan that the yellow race can also dunk, and finally got 50 points. With the last buckle, Angzi copied the legend of the GOAT, single ball double buckle, and full score. In the end, Angzi became the last dunk king. But this time, Angzi can no longer play the remaining things in the last dunk contest. He thought about it and decided to win this time with difficulty and no more creativity. Angzi believes in his slam dunk ability. After these 2 years of high-speed upgrades, Angzi's physical fitness has become stronger. It is not difficult to complete more difficult dunks. In particular, Angzi can also open the glory pool. Anyway, it is now the glory pool. It's still in the state of full 5, and it won't increase if you don't use it. I'd rather use it once and let him increase slowly. To understand this, Angzi eventually prepared 4 dunks. Even if there is a slam dunk, or there is overtime, then you can choose to adapt to the situation. Anyway, there will always be a way. After all, his strength is here, and he is no longer afraid of any opponents and challenges. Angzi practiced dunking in the rented training hall, and it was not until noon that there was a second person in the training hall. Kong dang, in the middle of the arena, Angzi completed a slam dunk from the back of the jump, catching the ball and dunking, and the movement was stretched, which was very difficult. It's pretty. And it looks like you are the dunk king. Angzi took a few breaths and turned to see that it was Charles Barkley, the old boy. Angzi smiled, "Why are you here?" Charles Barkley shook his head, "No way, it's the game in the afternoon, don't worry." "Don't worry? Why don't you worry?" "Don't worry about your performance, I'm afraid you will be delayed and we will lose the game," Charles Barkley said cheeky. Now an 11 shook his head, "Old boy, who are you talking about? Did you say me? Then you are wrong. You should talk about yourself." In fact, when it comes to this, Angzi understands that Charles Barkley is worried about himself. He is worried that he will be dragging his feet in the afternoon game. After all, he has retired for 15 years. Although he is in good condition, he is still in good shape. Compared with some famous celebrities who have just retired, there is still a clear gap. Charles Barkley picked up a basketball without saying a word. After practicing for a while, he watched Angzi dunk with interest. After watching it for a while, Charles Barkley made some suggestions. "Hey, An, I think your pure pursuit of difficulty will not be very popular in the end." Angzi was a little strange. "Hey, how do you see that I am pursuing difficulty?" Charles Barkley showed a foolish look. "You have been trying harder dunks, do you think I am a fool? Can't you tell?" An 11 nodded, then raised his chin at Charles Barkley. "Then what do you think?" My idea is very simple: to see Vince Carter's dunks, look at Michael Jordan's dunks, and then copy their dunks, but there is one thing you have to do better than them." "Better?" An 11 nodded, expressing his understanding, and then he remembered a classic dunk. So, at the moment, Angzi was on the court, throwing the basketball, and after hitting it on the floor, Angzi stepped slowly in the air, took the basketball, changed his hand behind his back, and approached the basket with a shocking one-handed one. Cut the dunk to end this dunk. Charles Barkley was stunned. Michael Jordan? Walking in the air. After Angzi landed, he panted and nodded. "That's right, this is the unrepeatable legend of Michael Jordan. Angzi did it and did a great job. In the afternoon you will dunk this dunk, I guarantee you full marks." Charles Barkley is very excited, but Angzi thinks more. Anyway, this dunk king, he is about to decide. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Role Player. Author, San Buletinji. Chapter 671. On the afternoon of February 15, the Barclays Center became hot again. The four competitions are about to begin, among which the three-point contest and the dunk contest with the highest attention will be held at the end, and the shooting star contest will start first. Angie stood on the sidelines and changed into uniform jerseys with Charles Barkley and Elaine adorn the Philadelphia 76ers retro jersey. Charles Barkley looked at his familiar jersey with emotion. Retro jersey, it reminds me of when I first joined the league. Angie shook his head, ignoring Charles Barkley's emotions. The game was about to begin. Angie looked at their opponents. The Chris Bosh team led by Chris Bosh includes Chris Bosh, famous star Dominic Wilkins and WNBA star Swin Cash. The Russell Westbrook team led by Westbrook includes Russell Westbrook himself, celebrity and Fanny Hardaway and WNBA Tamika Katc Hens. The Curry team led by Stephen Curry includes Stephen Curry, his father Dale Curry and WNBA star Sue Bird. Including the Angie team, a total of 4 teams will compete for the first championship on the second day of the All-Star Game. I'm still a little nervous. The game was approaching. Charles Barkley also rarely quieted down. He suddenly became a little nervous. Not playing for a long time, Charles Barkley is still a little uncomfortable with the atmosphere on the court. An 11 smiled on the sidelines. Usually Charles Barkley would chat and laugh in the commentary, commenting on all the NBA stars and ordinary players. Now, he has to be judged by his colleagues. Angie wanted to ask Charles Barkley how he feels now, but when he thought that the game was about to start, Angie thought for a while and let it go. Before the game, he still didn't interfere with Charles Barkley's mind. For the 4-team or individual events, the scene needs a host to organize. Therefore, Angie quickly saw the official NBA host walking to the center of the field. Angie and Stephen Curry were called aside by another NBA staff member and a lottery was conducted. As a result of the lottery, the Angie team played second, and the defending champion team Bosh team played first. Before the game, Bosh made a bold statement to continue defending the tournament, but his rivals Angie and Stephen Curry were directly ignored by him. Therefore, many people are also looking forward to how Bosh can perform. The Chris Bosh team was shot by Dominic Wilkins first. At 45 degrees and 3 meters on the right, Dominic Wilkins hit the ball. Then, 3 meters at 45 degrees to the left, WNBA star Swin Cash also hit the same. At the top of the arc, Chris Bosh took the ball and hit again. In the first 3 shots, Bosh made all 3 shots, which took very little time. Then, Dominic Wilkins fired 3 shots from the bottom line on the right. The first shot was missed, and then the second shot was made. Swin Cash did the same. The 45 degrees three-pointer on the left also missed the first shot. Cast a hit. On the last shot, Chris Bosh hit a three-pointer in the middle, and the audience was surprised and cheered. In the end, the Bosh team took 30.8 seconds. This result is a bit scary. The Bosh team has almost locked up a place in the finals and the defending champion is well deserved. Angie felt the pressure. He arranged his team's shooting order. Like Bosh, veteran Charles Barkley went first. The first shot, at 45 degrees and 3 meters on the right, was a mid-range shot. Charles Barkley was still very stable. After aiming, he made a steady hit. In the second shot, at 45 degrees and 3 meters to the left, Elena Dorn had a problem. The first shot missed, and then the second shot was steady and went in. On the third shot, an 11 made a three-pointer at the top of the arc. An 11 didn't even need to aim, but instead made a quick shot, with a scream, and an easy hit. The first 3 shots only took Elena Dorn a little longer, and the other teams were no worse than Bosh. But the next 3 shots are a bit difficult. Charles Barkley made a three-pointer from the bottom corner. After aiming, he missed the first shot. This was expected by Angie. He was not in a hurry, waiting for Barkley's second shot. Barkley's second shot still didn't make it, and then he immediately made the third shot, and finally made the third shot. It was Elena Dorn's 45 degrees three-pointer on the left, hitting it immediately, helping Angzi team save time. Finally, Angzi's three-pointers in the middle circle are the biggest reliance for Angzi team to win the championship. In normal games, Angzi has shot a lot of three-pointers in the middle circle. Many players need to try their luck in the three-pointers at this position, but Angzi does not necessary. At this position, he aimed a little, and his head was still very accurate. The same was true for this ball. An 11 shot directly with a scream, and the final time was fixed at 35.22 seconds, which was only a few seconds longer than the Bosch team, which was quite fast. After the first two teams were compared, the commentator reluctantly announced, "Well, the preliminaries are over early, with the current results of Bosch and Angzi, unless Russell Westbrook and Stephen Curry are next. Play extraordinary, otherwise it will be the Bosch team and Angzi team that will advance to the finals." The final result is also true. The Curry team came on the field, and the female player Sabord took the lead and made a direct hit, but then the Curry father and son made a mistake, missed the shot, and made the last three-pointer. Del Curry had good luck and made the same hit. But in the final time frame, Curry team spent 47 seconds and missed the final ahead of schedule. The last played Russell Westbrook team, the female player Coggins made the first shot. It may be too nervous. Because of the nervousness, Coggins failed to make consecutive shots. Westbrook was very anxious to pick up the ball for him, but he could only constantly comfort Coggins with a smile. In the end, it took only 20 seconds for Coggins to make a shot. Fortunately, both Westbrook and veteran Hardaway made a one-hit hit, gaining time for the team. In the final ultra-long three-pointer, veteran Penny Hardaway hit a one-hit, and the time was fixed at 39.2 seconds, and finally missed the finals. The final is approaching. Through the preliminary rounds, Angzi also understood the strength of the Bosch team, so Angzi was more careful in the final. In the final, the Angzi team took the lead, and the shooting point arrangement was the same as the previous one. Charles Barkley shot first. This time, the veteran Barkley adjusted his mentality. The first shot, the right 45 degrees in the shot, easily hit. Elena Dawn didn't lose the chain either, and hit a 45 degrees shot from the left. There was no problem with Angzi's arc top three-pointer, and he didn't even adjust, and he shot directly and hit quickly. In the first three shots, the Angzi team only took less than 8 seconds, which is surprisingly fast. Then, with a slightly more difficult last three shots, the adjusted Charles Barkley hit the corner three-pointer directly, while Elena Dorn's 45 degrees three-pointer from the left was very stable in the previous shot, and this shot is also the same hit. The two shots of Barkley and Dunn took about 6 seconds. For the first 5 shots, the Angzi team took less than 15 seconds. Now, it depends on Angzi's three-pointer in the middle circle. The three-pointer in the middle circle is the most difficult. Sometimes some players can even miss dozens of consecutive shots. After all, this is a gambling on luck. If you feel a little stronger, you may miss. Therefore, at the critical moment, everyone is very nervous. Angzi caught the ball in the middle circle, jumped up, aimed at the basket, and shot directly. The basketball drew a high arc, and after spending more than a second in the air, it fell directly into the basket with a scream. Go in. 3 points in the middle circle. Last shot. Go in. Less than 17 seconds. Angzi team made 6 shots, 2 strong. Now, we can announce in advance that Angzi and his Angzi team are the champions of the shooting star contest. Indeed, the Angzi team took only 17 seconds to make 6 shots. It was too fast, and it was about to break through the sky. Unless the Bosch team also performed supernormally like the Angzi team, otherwise, the Bosch team would not. The game may be completed within 17 seconds. Like the preliminaries, Bosch was still veteran Wilkins shooting at the first point, but since then the female player Cash missed 3 consecutive shots at the second point. Fortunately, Bosch hit a 3-pointer from the 3-point line. The team wins time. The last 3-pointer in the middle circle was super long. This time, the 3-pointer in the middle circle was replaced by Dominic Wilkins. The veteran Dominic Wilkins missed consecutively and spent a lot of time. In fact, by the time the game progressed, the winner was already divided, so no one on the sidelines paid attention to the game itself. All 3 of the Angzi teams stood up to celebrate their shooting star championship. The Bosch team's final 3-pointer in the middle circle still made it in the prescribed time, and it took 57.6 seconds to make the final championship. Naturally, there is no suspense. Although Adam Silver appeared on the sidelines, he did not personally present the awards. It was the sponsor who presented Angzi and the others. A trophy with a small sponsor advertisement was awarded to Angzi, and all 3 of them also had a small gold medal. Cheers from the audience. Angzi broke Bosch's monopoly on this event. After winning the first event, Angzi still needs to rush to the game. The next thing to be held is the skill competition. But before the skill contest, Angzi still needs to accept an interview. Getting the championship of today's first competition, do you have anything to say? I am very happy. This is a good start for my game today. I will continue to work hard and win the remaining 3 championships. Next is the skill competition. This competition is also your least favored competition. Do you think you have a chance to win? Of course, if you don't believe it, you should know the result in an hour, and wait and see when the time comes. The interview questions were very regular. After dealing with the reporters, Angzi quickly rushed to the locker room, changed to the regular 76ers jersey, and was ready to play. The rules of the skill contest are, the competition has obstacles and prescribed routes. Players must use dribbling, passing, and shooting skills to complete the required items to determine the outcome of the game. The specific regulations are as follows. The competition is divided into 2 rounds. The first round is the preliminaries, divided into 2 groups, with 2 players in each group competing, and the fastest finisher enters the second round. The timing starts when the whistle blows at the start of the game and stops when the player scores the last goal. The referee's whistle shall prevail. The game has 3 required passing events and a shooting event named top of the penalty area. When a player has any of the following 2 situations, it can be counted as a pass. 1. Successfully hit the target or make a shot. 2. Hit the target with the ball / use up the ball rack when shooting after all the were still unsuccessful. For the 2 levels of layup and last shot, if the contestant misses a shot, he must grab his own rebound to make the next shot until he makes the shot. If the 2 players tie in the match, the difference in time is within 0.1 second, an extra match will be made. The second round is the final, and the fastest player will win the championship. The rules are a bit complicated, but Angzi has practiced it several times, and he has already understood the specific routes and rules. 8 players, in addition to Angzi himself, Trey Burke of the Jazz, Dennis Schroeder of the Eagles, Patrick Beverley of the Rockets, Kyle Lowry of the Raptors, Jeff Teague of the Eagles, who have just transferred to Kawhi of the Knicks, Isaiah Thomas of the Phoenix Suns, originally Jimmy Butler and John Wall would also play, but eventually retired due to injuries. After the division, Angzi faced Trey Burke. Patrick Beverley and Isaiah Thomas took the lead. They didn't even make 3 3-pointers. In the end, Beverley made a top-up and entered the second round. After that, Jeff Teague and Kawhi competed. Kawhi fell behind from the beginning. Finally, Jeff Teague made a 3-pointer to enter the second round. Then there was the contest between Angzi and Trey Burke. Trey Burke was hindered in the passing link. An 11 hit a 3-pointer and defeated his opponent to enter the next round of the game. In the last set of confrontation between Kyle Lowry and Dennis Schroeder, Kyle Lowry almost killed Schroeder in seconds and easily entered the second round. In this way, Patrick Beverley, Jeff Teague, Anzi, and Kyle Lowry entered the second round. In the second round, Patrick Beverley vs. Jeff Teague. Despite Beverley's biography, the ball was blocked behind the opponent, but in the final three-pointer, Patrick Beverley hit it and turned the game back. Anzi and Kyle Lowry's duel. Anzi succeeded in one go and successfully advanced to the final round. Patrick Beverley's luck is better. In the first two rounds, he beat his opponent in the shooting link. In the first three passing rounds, Beverley did not do very well. After facing Anzi, he still did well. Not so good. The first three passes were suppressed by Anzi. In the final shooting round, Beverley missed the first shot and was directly hit by an 11s. The skill competition went on very quickly, and Anzi won the least favored competition in Anzi. The NBA officials continued to send sponsor representatives to award awards. Anzi won his second trophy during the All-Star weekend. Then, he will have to hit the remaining two championship trophies. Everything is under his control. Super Role Player. Author, Yuen San Buletinji. Chapter 672. After the shooting star contest and skill contest are over, the next step is the three-point contest and dunk contest. Anzi gave her two trophies to Abby, who was sitting on the sidelines, for safekeeping. So, in an instant, Abby's seat became the focus of the audience. Jeff Hornacek and MRS Hornacek are also sitting next to Abby. MRS Hornacek is holding Little Angel in her hand. Little Angel has just been full moon, but the overall outline has come out, and she will look like a little girl in the future. Beauty, after all. Anzi and Abby's genes are here. Even if they are poor, they are not much different. Before the start of the three-point contest, Anzi changed another set of jerseys and replaced the 76ers away jersey this season, the blue and red jersey. Then, on the sidelines, Anzi accepted an interview from the media. "Hey, Ann, we meet again. First of all, congratulations to you for winning the Shooting Star Championship and the Skill Championship. It is David Aldridge again. An 11 is a little helpless, but at this moment, he is already the focus of the scene. Turner Sports. I will definitely not let Anzi go." David Aldridge started the interview before the three-point contest after getting permission from Anzi. Won the first two games. What do you expect for the next three-point contest? Are you looking forward to it? I don't think there is anything to look forward to. The championship is destined, and it must be mine. Anzi is full of confidence, and David Aldridge is not surprised at Anzi's self-confidence. This is Anzi. He knows this very well. So, David Aldridge started to pose problems for Anzi. I took a look at the list of players participating in this three-point contest. 13-year three-pointer Stephen Curry, 14-year three-pointer Klay Thompson, Kyle Korver, who is the best three-pointer this season, and with Kelly Irving, James Harden, JJ Redick and Marco Bellinelli, so many powerful enemies. Will your confidence continue? Of course. An 11's answer is simple. He thinks David Aldridge's question is nonsense. David Aldridge shook his head helplessly, and then asked the last question. Then it should be no problem for you to win the three-point contest, but what about the record? Record? The record for the three-point contest is Klay Thompson's 32 points. In the 14-year All-Star three-point contest, Klay Thompson missed only one ball and finally scored 32 points. Anzi wanted to break this record unless all hits. Or just throw an orange ball, which is still very difficult. Therefore, David Aldridge felt that he should have asked Anzi for the last question. However, Anzi's answer was still unexpected. Record? If I want to, that's not a problem. The interview was live, and after Anzi made this answer, there was an uproar in the audience. On the field, after Anzi's short warm-up, the three-point contest is about to begin. Because of the high attention of the three-point contest and the slam dunk contest, the appearance ceremony of the three-point contest is more formal. The lights on the scene dimmed suddenly, all the participating players were sitting on the benches on the sidelines, the host was standing in the middle of the field, and a beam of light struck over. Ladies and gentlemen, next, please participate in this three-point contest. Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, James Harden, Kelly Irving, one by one stood up on the sidelines, another light struck over, and they waved to the surroundings to greet the cheers of the audience. The last one, Angzi. From the Philadelphia 76ers, Angzi debuted at the finale and the audience cheered. The main point of this three-point contest is that the three-pointer Wang Angzi in 12 years, the three-pointer Stephen Curry in 13 years, and the three-pointer Klay Thompson in 14 years, these three-pointer matchups are what many people look forward to. Showdown. As for James Harden and Kelly Irving, they have long been regarded as supporting roles by many people. On the sidelines, the participating players draw lots, and the final order of appearance is Kelly Irving, J.J. Redick, James Harden, Klay Thompson, Marco Bellinelli, Stephen Curry, Angzi and Kyle Korver. The rules of the three-point contest have not changed in recent years. The total score is still 34 points, 5 shooting points, one of which is a flower ball, and the other 4 shooting points have a flower ball. After the contest, every flower ball becomes vital. Kelly Owen, who was the first to play, was already on the sidelines and was ready to start shooting. The fans on the scene saw that the game was about to start, and they all fell silent. In the Madison Square Garden Arena, more than 20,000 pairs of eyes stared at Kelly Irving at the bottom corner of the stadium. Kelly Owen took a deep breath, put his hands on the ball and got ready. But it may be the first time to participate in the game. From the big screen on the scene, Kelly Owen can see a little nervousness. His 2 feet have been moving, which is a sign of nervousness. Beep. The whistle on the sidelines sounded and the first round of the game began. Kelly Owen quickly grabbed the ball and then thrown it away. This season, with LeBron James returning to Cleveland, Irving has also made a lot of three-pointers. This season, he averaged 5 three-pointers and 2.1 three-pointers per game, with a lot of attempts and three-pointers. But maybe it was really too nervous, the first ball was obviously stronger, and it hit the edge of the basket and bounced out. The fans at the scene were in an uproar. The good thing about the three-pointer contest is that he has a time limit. He throws all 25 in 1 minute. The time is still very tight. Players participating in the contest have no time or opportunity to think about what each ball should be, how to shoot, or what to do if the ball is missed. The first goal was not scored, Kelly Owen could only quickly pick up the second goal and shoot quickly. But the second ball was also thrown a little hurriedly, and it actually bounced out again, which caused another uproar among the fans at the scene. 2 consecutive misses. Coupled with the voice of the fans on the scene, Kelly Owen was obviously out of rhythm, and the next 3 balls, including the flower ball, all went off. The sound of boom was endless, and Kelly Irving's first point was that he didn't score a goal. On the sidelines, Kelly Irving's teammates couldn't help but grin bitterly, especially Kevin Love, who is also a good three-pointer. This season, with LeBron James, he has also shot a lot of three-pointers. It is terrible to see Kelly Irving. What he thinks now is that if he were to participate in the three-point contest, at least it would certainly not be worse than Kelly Irving's performance. On the field, Kelly Irving tried his best to adjust for the next second shooting point, but after the adjustment, the effect was very small. In the end, only 5 goals were scored. But finally it was a goal. Kelly Owen was relieved. This means that no matter how miserable he is in this three-point contest, he can't get 0 points, at least there are points. The 2 shooting points only scored 2 points. Kelly Owen already knew that he was hopeless to advance, and he simply broke the pot. Regardless of whether he could shoot all 25 goals, he slowed down his rhythm and carefully shoot the next 3 points. The third point, Kelly Owen, who shot carefully, actually made all 5 goals. Kelly Irving also made 4 ball points for the next flower ball, plus 2 points from the last shot point. After all 3-pointers were shot, Kelly Irving finally scored 18 points. That's a lot, but after the 3-point contest system was changed, the total score was 34 points and 18 points were scored, which is obviously not much. The second one is JJ Redick. JJ Redick made 46% of 3-pointers this season, ranking 3rd in the league, second only to Kyle Korver and Angzi, and it is worth mentioning that he has played in the league for more than a decade. The 3-pointer has always been the main scoring method, and the shooting rate is also quite good, so if Redick plays normally, he will obviously be a rival. JJ Redick's appearance drew a round of applause from the fans. After all, Kelly Irving's performance in the first round was a bit sorry for the audience. The audience still wanted to see a wonderful 3-point contest. They wanted to see JJ Redick play well. JJ Redick walked to the sidelines, and the audience fell silent. Beep. When the whistle sounded from the sidelines, Redick grabbed the ball and threw it out quickly. As a veteran shooter in the league, JJ Redick is obviously more stable than the previous Kelly Irving. He scored 3 goals at the first shot point. Although the last flower ball was a bit regretful, he bounced out of the basket. 3 points from a shooting point are still acceptable. When the second point was reached, he made 4 more goals, including the final flower ball. Such a strong performance also attracted cheers from the fans. When the third point was reached, even the participating players focused their attention. This is Redick's scoring point. If Redick still maintains the previous level, then it is very likely that a place for promotion will be locked. Redick also knows that the flower ball point is very important, and he slowed down his shooting rhythm very steadily. The first ball took a side and then it was thrown out. In. The second ball. Return in. The cheers of the fans broke out all at once. There are still 2 points and 3 ball misses. Redick's score has reached 12 points. JJ is worthy of being a top 3-point shooter. Kenny Smith in the commentary can't help but said with emotion. As a 3-point shooter, Kenny Smith knows that with JJ Redick's current results, it is very likely that a final will be locked. Of places. Boom. But just after Kenny Smith finished the compliment, JJ Redick's third ball popped out of the basket. At the end of the shooting star contest, Charles Barkley, who returned to the commentary, couldn't help but reach out to help his forehead, taking a bite of poisonous milk. Then, the tainted milk continued to ferment. For the next 3 flower balls, JJ Redick missed all of them. In this moment, the original good situation disappeared in an instant. JJ Redick also looked a little annoyed, but the game had to go on, and when he reached the 4th point, he also showed the fans his stable psychological quality as a shooter. He scored 4 goals in a row again, although the final flower ball jumped out of the basket. But it also attracted cheers from the fans. At the last shot point, time was a little short. Redick shot quickly, and finally hit 2 goals with 5 goals, including the last flower ball, so that all shots were completed, and his final score was 20 points. With 20 points, JJ Redick suppressed Kelly Irving. This score is not high, but it is still possible to advance to the finals. After all, Redick has suppressed an Irving. Next to JJ Redick is James Harden. Harden also made a lot of 3-pointers this season. Because of the Rockets' tactical changes, the Magic Ball tactics continue to strengthen. The Rockets' requirement is to either shoot 3-pointers or hit the basket. With James Harden's playing style, 3-pointers are natural. Just cast more. This season, James Harden averaged 6.9 3-pointers and 2.6 3-pointers per game, even more than Kelly Irving, just a little bit worse. With a whistle on the sidelines, James Harden's shooting also began. The first point, 5 scored 3, and just like JJ Redick, a different last ball scored, which attracted the fans' cheers. The 45 degrees angle to the right of the second point is Harden's flower ball point. He played very well after taking the ball. The sound of swish goals continued. 5 goals scored for. The fans on the scene suddenly exploded. 5 scoring goals scored for, which is simply too accurate. After shooting 2 points, his score has come to 12 points, more than just JJ Redick. At the top of the arc, James Harden was still steady and took another 3 points, already scoring 15 points when there were 2 shooting points left. James Harden's last 2 shooting points were relatively poor, but he also scored 7 points, so his total score of 22 points, surpassing JJ Redick and temporarily ranked first. At this time, the most helpless is Kelly Irving. After 3 shots, he ranked first from the bottom. As long as the next shot Klay Thompson scores more than 18 points, then Kelly Irving will be out early. In the face of Klay Thompson, Kelly Owen knew very well that Klay Thompson was capable of 3-pointers, and Owen knew very well that, not surprisingly, he was going to be eliminated early. Klay Thompson made his 4th appearance, making the scene even more exciting. Klay Thompson is the record holder for this event. Klay Thompson missed only 1 ball in the last 3-point contest and finally broke the record held by Stephen Curry with 32 points. In this 3-point contest, as the previous 2 3-pointers Wang Angzi and Stephen Curry announced their participation in succession, Klay Thompson also dared to fight and also announced the participation. Klay Thompson's goal is to keep his 3-pointer title. Beep. The whistle for the start of the game on the sidelines rang. Klay Thompson followed and shot the ball directly. Huh. 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 Amidst the exclamation of the fans, Klay Thompson turned into a shooting machine. The basketball shot, and the next second it hollowed into the basket, making a crisp sound of wiping the net. The first shooting point was shot and all 5 goals were scored. The fans at the scene cheered. Klay Thompson's fiery state was a little scary. Even Angzi on the sidelines was a little surprised by Klay Thompson's precision. Klay Thompson's second point was still accurate. With the slurping sound of the net, he scored all the first 4 goals, but the last flower ball did not. 10 goals into 9, the accuracy of the first 2 shooting points has made the fans on the scene crazy. Klay Thompson's shooting show began again. The third shooting point was Klay Thompson's flower ball point. The flower ball point should be Klay Thompson's strongest point. At the top of the arc, Klay Thompson made 3 consecutive shots. The 4th ball missed a bit. But then the 5th ball went in again. In the end, Klay Thompson scored 8 points for the ball point. For the first 3 shooting points, Klay Thompson scored 18 points, tying Kelly Irving directly, and then as long as he scored 1 more goal, Irving could be eliminated directly. And then, Klay Thompson's performance continued to be stable. With the remaining 2 shooting points, Klay Thompson only missed an orange ball, and the final score was fixed at a terrifying 29 points. The fans at the scene were completely crazy. This was only the preliminary match. Klay Thompson scored 29 points, an extremely high score. Klay Thompson has almost locked a place in the finals, and on the other side, Kelly Owen can only send out. Smiled bitterly, he is out. Angzi took a deep breath. This 3-point contest, it looked like it was not easy to deal with.